I might be a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. In this episode, we meet more Brits who talk American. So if you were with me for the previous episodes, you'll know that my dream 1970 Dodge Charger is now safely with one of the top American car restoration specialists in Europe, John Castleman. And while I waited for the car to be stripped down and disassembled, put in an acid bath, the first step of any ground-up restoration, I could add time to ponder which way the rebuild should go. I was thinking about having it restored with modern touches, the so-called Resto Mod option. I've seen plenty of these vehicles at different shows I visited in the UK, Europe and even in America. These cars will have gizmos and gadgets from modern times to make them easier to drive, or just because the owner wants his or her vehicle to reflect his or her preferences and needs.
When you've got high value cars, especially muscle cars, I think if you keep it original, if you do ever want to sell it, or if anything ever happens, your market is this. You start customising the car. There will be somebody to buy it, but your market becomes this. And even the guys who like hot rods and like race cars, I think they still like to buy an original looking car, because it's kind of a blank canvas and they can do what they want with it. So that would be my advice to you, but it's your car, you do what you want with it.
That's Chris Gaunt, Workshop Wizard. There'll be a lot more from Chris in the next episode. Mike had found a guy in Canada making better instrument clusters for chargers, and I was sorely tempted to go down that route. I mean, everything was being stripped out of the car anyway, so why not improve things? But I had to stop myself. And that's because I thought of what Chris had said, and also because of a chap I met up near the Humber estuary.
I'd rather have it looking like that car, or you know, a little bit rough and stock, rather than customising. I think customising is something that sometimes can't be put back. You know, if shaving the door handles and things like that is okay. I mean, you can always put them back on again if you wanted to. But when you're chopping the tops and lowering them down and all this sort of thing, it's I just don't understand why you'd do that.
At the end of the day, I'm still not sure that I'll really be able to afford my dream car when it's finally finished. So if I do have to sell it to make ends meet, to pay back the financing I think I'm going to have to take out to get it finished, it will find a new home far easier if it is stock. That's because there seems to be more people who appreciate the stock cars rather than the Resto Mods, and there will be a bigger market of buyers who cannot be offended by the items I may have chosen to replace with modern counterparts. That's the theory, anyway. But I would definitely go my own way with the colour. One of the best chargers here in the UK is owned by a great fella named Derek. Del has some amazing stories we will hear later in the series. I mentioned Derek's charger because his charger was yellow originally and he opted for a different factory colour when it got resprayed. Oh, what a wonderful rich brown he opted for. This car has won several awards at UK shows, and it's proof you don't have to go completely stock to have a great car everybody admires. Looking at Derek Carter's amazing award-winning Charger with its rich brown colour and awesome black vinyl roof really inspires me, and I definitely want a black vinyl roof for my Charger whatever colour I opt for. And when Mike found a bloke on Facebook selling black 1970 Charger seats, I had to go and take advantage and buy them, which meant that I didn't need my blue 1970 seats. And when I offered these up on an internet forum, there was a guy up in the Humber estuary willing to take them off my hands, and that's how I met James. Now, what do you reckon?
Well, that's a beauty, isn't it? That's a nice one. It's no thread damage on there. It's good. This is a passenger seat then, this one must be.
Yeah, I think it might. I think that might have been the driver's seat. Yeah. But you could, I mean, obviously they're the same.
Yeah, you can switch them over, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got some dust there.
Yeah.
And again,
that'll clean up real nice.
Yeah, and the back, that's just paint.
Yeah, needs paint.
Paint that, you'll be all right. But lovely. Look at this. Yeah. Almost 50 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good seat.
You're not disappointed?
No, they're great.
I didn't want to disappoint you. James had bought a 1968 Charger a few years earlier from a fella in Essex, which is just northeast of London, for those Americans among you. We mentioned Essex previously. And that car had a blue interior he wanted to keep, apart from the original blue seats, which had long since given up the ghost. So my blue 1970 seats were just what he needed. But it turns out Cadillacs are also big cars in James's life, not just mopars.
We watched a film called Christine, Stephen King horror movie. That was really the film that got me into American cars. Seeing the dilapidated car in the movie and how he fixed it up and everything was quite inspiring, and I sort of wanted one ever since. That got me into it.
In that movie, obviously Christine, I think, is a 1957 Plymouth Fury.
Yes, yeah.
And you know, and that car is quite a popular car. But
Yeah.
here you are with Cadillacs.
I did,
you know, so you fell in love with the fishtail sort of big chrome front fishtail monsters.
Yeah, nice looking things. I mean, I did own a '58 Plymouth. I bought one about 10 years ago that was half done up, and I finished it off. The red and white and all, just like a movie car. Went to a few shows in it and everything. Finalised that ambition, and then went back to my Cadillacs.
Your first car that you purchased was quite some time ago.
My parents went away briefly. I'd be about 14, maybe 15, and when they came back, they came back and there was a 20-foot long Cadillac DeVille, 4-door DeVille, massive blue thing in the driveway, which Mum wasn't very pleased about. It was very interesting.
And you were 14?
Yeah, 14 years old, and lumbered her with that thing.
How does a 14-year-old buy a 20-foot long blue Cadillac?
Looking at the Auto Trader, I used to read Auto Trader avidly. I'd ring up, do the deal, or get someone to take me to the car. My uncle was a mechanic at the time, had a car recovery truck. He actually brought the car back for me. Sometimes he'd move the car, other times I'd just get people I knew to move the cars.
We haven't got time to show you each Cadillac James owns here and now, so we'll have to come back to James later in the series. And because all of James's American cars are some way off being back on the road, I introduced James to Chris White, the founder of Classic Car Hire Yorkshire. Chris had a Buick Skylark and a little bit of time on his hands. But as I mentioned earlier, in the next episode, we will meet workshop wizard Christian Gaunt. Chris's '68 Charger is linked to techno music royalty and has an interesting past. If we've kept you entertained, please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, visit talkamerican.com for more information and additional content, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook for updates and alerts. But for now, it's bye-bye.